Thanks for listening to the Zain Battla podcast. We officially have merch, and right now 100% of the profits are going to PCRF, Palestine Children's Relief Fund. We got hoodies, we got t-shirts, and again, 100% of the profits going right to PCRF. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I want to thank you for supporting my work. Omar Dahbour, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
What is the most expensive car you've ever sold?
Believe it was a G-Wagon. Can't remember which one, but it was upper 100s.
Wow. Yeah. You used to have another dealership just for the luxury cars as well, right? Or
Yeah, we had two locations. One was for trucks and luxury. We sold that one right before the pandemic. It was just weird timing, but we let it go.
So how's the business been so far since the pandemic?
I look at cars now as no different than like stocks or crypto. 1 week prices fluctuate up, 1 week, the next week they're down. For 2 years after the pandemic, car prices went up 30, 40, 50%. So like the same cars we were selling for 12 or 13,000 became 18, 19, some of them 20,000. I kind of missed out on a lot because I thought the cars were overpriced for a long time. I guess I did learn not to fight the trend, but it's a hard lesson to learn.
And I'm sure many consumers, when they were trying to buy used cars since the 2020 spike in the used car market, what was the main factor causing that spike in the used car market?
So if we based it on what the media was telling us, they kept saying supply chain shortages. I speculate there was a lot of collusion between auto manufacturers, like, look, we're going to put out this many cars and we're going to dictate the price. And that's what they did. And that stopped at the end of 2022, roughly 6 months after the Federal Reserve kept raising rates. You saw car prices start to basically tank. I remember October of 2022 was the worst month of my career.
Wow.
We lost about $120,000 in 30 days.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And this loss was because of you having to get cars off the lot and you were just selling them as a loss, or?
Right. So think about it this way, right? So from April or May of 2022 till about from April or May of 2020 till about August of 22, I'm going to put it to you in perspective of how you can operate a car dealership. You could basically buy cars on a Monday. Don't even touch them. Don't even think about them for 3 or 4 weeks later. Every day that car sat on your lot, it appreciated. So what was the incentive to get that car ready for sale? There was no incentive. So for almost 2 years, dealers got used to just taking their time. They knew that every day that a car sat on the lot, it would appreciate in value. Well then, in the flip of a switch, something happened in October of 2022 where that was no longer the case. And mind you, I never did that the whole pandemic. I got the cars ready, got them sold, met more people, got more referrals, got more trade-ins, sold to so many dealers across the country. So what I did basically was I pulled forward my losses. I knew that the tides were shifting, so I was like, let me take my loss now versus later. That way I can recoup my money and buy cars at a lower price and bring them out to the public. So I pulled forward a lot of losses, and I lost almost like $4,000 a day that we were open. I was losing money. So the losses I took in October, dealers are still taking 2 years later till today. So,
is there a certain approach that you take in your business that, hey, this is the RDU Auto way, or this is what I would like as basically what I want to represent when someone walks into the dealership. This is what I want for them to take home, regardless of if they buy a car or not. Sure. This is what they want to take home from the brand.
So I kind of have like this, it might sound corny or cliche, but I'm like, if we can offer Chick-fil-A service with Walmart pricing, that would be like the ideal hybrid, like poster child of cars, right? Imagine like when you go to Chick-fil-A, you feel like a king, right? And I feel like the people at Chick-fil-A really do care about customer service. So do I. So I tell my people, I'm like, just give the Chick-fil-A service, the pricing, let me handle that, and let's create the best of both worlds for people. So we do have like a no pressure approach. Nobody's commissioned, right? So when you walk in, we're not like hovering over you, showing you like, hey, this is a steering wheel, this is a tire. We understand that people know, they have a general idea of what the features are on a car, but they just want to make sure it's a good car and they're buying from good people. So that's kind of like our approach there.
It's very different from the stereotypical used car dealership salesman that, hey, this guy's a sleazy salesman who's trying to just sell me a bad deal and just looking out for their own interest.
No, whether we're selling cars or not, my people are getting paid. So
that's a good approach. I think it's similar to the approach where when I worked at Best Buy, obviously, Best Buy is a large corporation, you're a small business, but the Best Buy approach was, hey, you're not going to get commission off your sales. You're going to get paid regardless, but just provide the best service for the consumer and be able to give them all the details that they need on this particular product. Obviously, there were some incentives to sell more, such as they track your sales, how well you're doing, performance, are you able to add accessories, are you able to add this? But it never influenced, okay, if I sell this laptop, then I get a piece of the pie. It's, oh, yeah, you sell this laptop and you're able to come out with these metrics, you were recognized as a top sales person in your specific department. Is there some sort of recognition that you see, oh, my employee was able to sell this much versus another employee, or is there a different approach?
We're a small family shop, so like there's no like recognition, like when the business does good or does well, the whole family's recognized. Like we kind of approach it like, look, when one of us is down, it can bring down the whole team. So everyone just stands up, does the best that they can every day, all the time. And when the business does good, we share. So it's kind of that approach there.
What inspired you to go with the dealership and even open up a dealership? Did you have previous business endeavors? Did you always feel like you wanted to start a dealership?
How it all started, in college, I kind of had to pay for my own school. So I started selling cars, like $1,000 cars. Basically what I would do is find what I would consider distressed ads on Craigslist. So I would like find somebody that would be like, 95 4Runner for sale, scratches here, dings here, has an oil leak, this window doesn't work. I'm like, that's kind of consistent for a 10-year-old car. I don't know why they're saying all this. So I would buy it, bring it back. I would fix any oil leaks, clean it up, make it, very presentable. And I would repost it the same day and people would buy it. I would sell cars within 24 hours. So it hit me one day when I sold a Corolla to a gentleman who contacted me a few months later and was like, hey, I'm looking for a car for my daughter. And I'm like, well, I don't have more cars. I was 20 at the time. So like I didn't know kind of like how to approach that. And he was like, can you get me one? I was like, I don't think so. But then like I thought about this guy's comments for a few days and I was like, hey, maybe I have something going here. So anyways, I was delivering pizza for Papa John's and just like finding one car by one car and just making a living. And I think that's when I knew I wanted to do it. So Yeah, worked at Papa John's, started working at a car dealership. I sold the owner of a car dealership a car, and then a few months later, he texted me and was like, "Do you know anyone that wants to work?" I was like, "I'll take the job." So worked there for like 2 years, found out he was selling it, put in my notice, went to go work for CarMax for a few months, thought I could learn, some new tricks. I got fired when they found out I was trying to open my own spot. So I worked there for 3 months, and then back to the wall. I had to figure something out, and that's when I started my spot.
So how long has it been since you started your dealership?
Started in October of 2014. Wow. October 7th, actually, 2014.
Oh, wow. What a monumental date.
Yes.
But you're going on your 10th anniversary, 10th year anniversary.
Yes.
As far as the 10-year growth, 10-year trajectory, essentially, how has that been? Like when you initially started out, what were the initial struggles, and then what kind of continued, helped you take off?
So in the beginning, it was, I kind of would call it, they call it beginner's luck. We really took off. The first 3 years were our best years, still to this day in our company. 3 years were our best. A lot of things happened in 10 years, especially in the car business. So it's like you had the whole, after my first 3 years, 18 and 19 were kind of slow, and then I had the pandemic, and then you had like supply chains, car shortages, insurance, premiums are spiking, so people are becoming less hesitant. In 2021, you had gas prices hit almost $6, so everybody wanted electric. It was a volatile last 3 years. Now we're focused on EVs, so that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of the movement we're heading towards. So I'm looking at it like this is the beginning of a new chapter. Like I started basically a day zero methodology on January 1st of this year. So no looking back, no comparisons to the previous years, because all of it's out the window. I mean, we're living in a completely different time.
You think EVs are the future?
I think in 2019, Tesla set the beginning of an EV boom, and we're kind of seeing like a little drop because the prices went up so high. But I'm telling my team that we are in month 1 of a used EV boom. Reason being, the prices have come down so far. Those cars are still very reliable. The batteries are rated for 400,000 miles. So I kind of look at it like, why would I buy a 2019 Honda Civic for $20,000 when I can buy a 2019 Tesla that kind of drives itself, don't have to spend gas money, maintenance, batteries, oil changes, all that good stuff. So I could see this as the beginning of a used EV boom.
EV evolution or revolution.
I would say that, yeah, it could be.
And there's also certain tax incentives when it comes to getting an EV.
You can, if you qualify, tax qualifications, the government's paying basically $4,000 for any qualified buyer who buys an EV under $25,000. Right. Pretty exciting times.
All right. Well, if anybody needs an EV, they know where to go. RDUauto.com. Yep. So you ship all over the U.S. too?
We've sold cars all over the U.S. We've sold cars to Europe. We have dealers buying our cars at sticker price. They mark them up. We're just, you see, in the car business, what a lot of people don't know is the money is made in the buying, right? So the public doesn't know this. We're not car salesmen first. Yeah. We're not good at selling, to be honest. Like, we're not like the best salesmen. But what we're really good at is creating value. So we know what cars to buy, what to pay for them, when to buy them, the seasons to buy them. So there's a lot that goes into the buying, and then we just put them out and The cars basically sell themselves. We just provide, good customer service throughout.
What's been, I mean, and it seems like it's a recurring theme of, oh, we're different from most dealerships because our employees are not commission based. We have a very strong focus on good customer service, great customer service, and you make it an unbeatable price. Is there certain things that you would say you still do similar to a traditional dealership?
I don't know. I don't think anything.
Sell cars. That's pretty.
Yeah, we sell cars. People when they come in, like our showroom's completely different. People are like, some people are like, hey, this looks like the Apple store, or hey, this looks like, a T-Mobile store. Like it's not, I would say out of every 10 people that walk in the door, half of them are complimenting the showroom. It's like, first of all, we're off of New Bern Avenue, and for the locals, they're like, New Bern? This guy's like, New Bern people are worried about getting shot. But then you walk into RDU Auto and you're like, wow. And this was my vision when I redid the showroom. I finished it February of 2020, and then March of 2020 we shut it down. It was closed to the public. But then when we opened back up, it was like a breath of fresh air for people. So you ever go on a website and the dealership's like call for pricing? It's like, why? All our prices are in the windows. All our prices are listed online. There are no haggle prices, but we shop the vehicle before we price it. So before I even buy a car, I look at what they're selling for. And when you're able to basically get your pricing down to a science, the public flocks to you. We sell every single car we post every single month. Cars do not sit longer than 30 days. So
That's very impressive. I feel like a lot of dealerships probably can't say that.
Yeah, from the feedback we get from like our auto trader reps, car gurus reps, we're like they compare us to like the big dealership groups like in our area. We fly under the radar in a lot of different, scopes, if you will, but the people who have the data and see like the metrics and the performance, they are very, very impressed. Like I've talked to like the president of Auto Trader for, on a couple of occasions. So like, it's, they think we're pretty cool.
What keeps you driven to success and keeps fueling your ambition?
I run the business that in a way that in 30 days I'm gonna be out of business. Because if you're ever complacent or content and the guy next door to you or the guy down the street from you is running and working harder than you, I don't know how that feels, but I imagine that could be a scary feeling. So I keep my own fuel to the fire running behind me, in the sense that don't get comfortable. In 30 days you could be out. So that's what keeps me going, is the fear of closing in the next 30 days. It's not an easy business. Our margins are, I would say, less than 10%, 8%, and after all the bills are paid, you're running on 3 or 4%. So there's no room for error.
So at that point, if the 3%, 4% margin is what you're looking at, is really what drives your success is your volume, and you're hoping that the volume keeps you going because of the fact that, we're reputable in customer service. We aren't like your average used car dealership. Because of that will drive the volume?
I would say at the end of the day, what really drives the volume is the types of cars you have and the price. The customer service is secondary, because like when you go, for example, to look for a car online, you search for the car you want and you look for the best price, right? You don't know about that dealership's customer service. You could read some reviews, but most reviews are fake, straight up. Yeah. Most reviews from when you see a car dealership with thousands of reviews, they're paid for. Wow. There's different programs that car dealerships sign up with that pay you for a review. We've never paid for reviews ever. That's why we don't have thousands. We have like I think on Google like 500. But yeah, so it's really price. And how do you get a good price? You could buy a bad car and try to patch it up and sell it for a low price. You probably won't last long. Or you could do a lot of work to find good cars at good deals and bring them to market. So what we're doing behind the scenes really is it's an arbitrage. So we're finding cars that sell in different markets for lower prices that we know we can bring to our price and hit those metrics of 8% and 3% net.
What should people know about buying or selling cars? What's the most important thing people can take home?
So the easiest way, in my opinion, is when you start your search online, just look for the lowest price to the highest in your area. You could go on cars.com, type in, like, if you want to look for a 2018 Tesla Model 3, search, set your sort by lowest, look at the mileage, you could set mileage filters, and then go by the dealer ratings and then inquire. And today, it is an absolute buyer's market. Like today and the last 3 months, and in my opinion, if rates stay high the next few months or years, it's a buyer's market. So that whole, how dealers were in control telling you like, oh, this car has been sold, you better buy now, it's over. And if they try to tell you something, it's a lie. So I would say also if you have a trade-in, get some behind the scenes values. Look on Kelley Blue Book, look at, go on Carvana.com, CarMax.com, put your vehicle information in and find out how much these big boxes are offering. That way, if you knew nothing, now you have at least an idea. So when you go into trade, you could know nothing about cars or car values, but you now know how much you have in offers and how much estimates are on the book values. Something also people, I feel like when I'm interacting with them, they're like, oh, I forgot to clean my car. That doesn't affect the trade-in value. Like you could have a box of fried chicken in the passenger seat, dirty baby diapers in the back seat, has nothing to do with your trade-in value. Things that do affect trade-in value is like mechanical conditions. So if you have like check engine lights or if you have bald tires, you may or may not, it may not be worth it to trade them in or, change them out. It could help your case if you do have less mechanical issues, but the cosmetics, basically dirt, trash in your car, does not affect the value. So I would say do homework on comparables of what you're looking at, have 2 or 3 picked out in your area. B, figure out how much your car is worth, whether it be trade-in value or big box online instant appraisals, and look at the dealer's reviews. See what people are saying about the place you're trying to shop from. So that's what I would say the biggest things are for trying to buy a car or sell a car.
And then once they get that value, they go to RDU.com,
RDUauto.com, sure.
And then they see, oh, you guys are offering the best price.
For sure, we have the best price, best service, but that's mostly for locals. We're international too. I would say that trading in a good car is good leverage because dealers generally make more money on cars that are traded in than at the auction. Just a little inside hint.
So that's the incentive to get the car traded in.
That's right. Dealers love cars from the public. They hate buying cars from the auction. The auction is the dealer's worst enemy.
Wow, but that's where I feel you find yourself most of the time.
90% of my cars come from the auction and I hate it.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of principles within your business that can be applied to other businesses. There's also, a vast amount of entrepreneurs or people aspiring to be an entrepreneur. I guess when it comes to starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur, what does that mean to you initially before even diving into how do you start a business? Like, what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
So I would say entrepreneurship to me evolves. It is a word that starts out as one thing and turns into another, right? When I first started the business, entrepreneurship to me was making money, right? Then along the way, you encounter so many different scenarios to where you're like, it's not all about money. And at the risk of sounding so corny, it to me became more of a platform, right? We have kids, like there are kids in the community that look up to me. They're like, hey, this guy has, a business. They could perceive it as successful. They don't really know the struggles, but nonetheless, they look, right? I have family, I have siblings, right? So like, imagine this. I sell a bad car, or I sell bad cars, and my sisters are in school or a gathering or a family meeting, and they see somebody that has like an RDU plate frame. And if my siblings know I sell bad cars, because it's not something you can hide, and that person may say something like, oh, I bought a car from your brother, it kind of sucks. That's a bad feeling. Yeah. Whereas, so these things keep me in line. Like, I need to sell a good car for the sake that these kids might be in class with my sisters, or this might be my mom or dad's friend, or this person could be at a place of worship and talk, and you kind of are guided by these moral values that like, hey, I need to do good so that even people or businesses not affiliated directly with me are not impacted in a negative way. Giving back to the community, right? Helping people who are in need. So like, there have been times where somebody's shown up on a bike, right? Think about this. Dude shows up on a bike in the middle of a crazy thunderstorm. Parks his bike, walks inside and is like, I want the keys to that car. You would think maybe like, hey, this guy's up to no good. Like, he just needs his car to get out of this rainstorm because he's drenched. The guy buys the car, then comes back with his daughter later on, like a year, and buys another car. So like, you kind of learn so many different scenarios, and you see all walks of life and all people in different situations that you're just kind of like, I'm doing a good thing and I want to keep doing a good thing. And I would say that donating and charity and sweat equity and just being there for people when you can help them, to me, is entrepreneurship today. So of course, being profitable contributes to these things. But in the beginning, when I was younger, when I first opened, it was straight up money, hustle. Yeah. Not at all costs. Do the right thing, but hustle. And the hustle turned into, hey, like, let's give back. And then the giving back turned into like somewhat of an addiction. Like you find so much gratification and like being able to help and give back and support others. So that's to me entrepreneurship today.
So the entrepreneurship generally started as, oh, I need to find a way to make money and support myself through my business. But then you realize that, oh, these principles that I may have initially been applying to my business, if I want to give back to my community, then I need to kind of change the way I'm doing business or apply some of my own morals and principles to my business.
Yeah, you see, it's basically like this bigger picture moment, right? You see like, oh, it's not all about money, right? So it's like more than you. Entrepreneurship becomes like all about you, and then more than you. It becomes like all about your business, then all about your community. Because now, after you've sold enough product and had enough people come back to you, like, oh, hey, I crashed my car, you guys did good for me, and or like, you know, like in 2018, we were the first dealership in the state to accept crypto, right? So like people started reaching out like, look, this guy is like innovative, right? So like people, it inspires, right? So it becomes inspirational. It becomes, and you start to get addicted almost to like, hey, how can I teach people to think outside of the box or be creative in their own craft? And that's basically where we're at. So like it went from straight up money for me, myself, my dealership, to a platform for the community to inspire and create and hopefully give back as much as we can.
Do you think that your philosophy faces some challenges sometimes, given how, so many corporations own so much of the wealth, or so many people at, the billionaire class, they own a lot of the wealth, and it continues to feel that the middle class American or even the business owner can't compete anymore? Are there challenges that you face that you may sometimes feel that, you know what, if I just compromise my values a little bit, I'll make a bit more money and it'll pay off in the long run because I'm able to make more?
I remember in 2017 when I first saw the Carvana building go up less than a mile down the street from my dealership. Forgot who I texted, but I did text and say we're doomed. We weren't. We were not doomed. Sure, they took share from us in the beginning, but you start to realize, hey, what are they good at, and what are they bad at, and what am I good at, and what am I bad at? You don't get that expertise. Like if you have an issue with your car at Carvana, or if you have more than general questions, nobody's there to answer them for you, right? So we were competing. We definitely had better pricing, and then we were also given that hometown feel. Like, hey, look, we're no pressure, we're no commission, we have no salesman, just like you, and we were doing it before you, and we were shipping cars to people's homes before you, but we know more about cars than you do. Like you're funded by Wall Street, we're funded by our sweat equity. Our willingness to survive is much greater than yours. So we had that advantage, and they didn't put a dent in our business. One thing I will say about the billionaire class, or Wall Street, or venture capital, there was a business called Car Lots, and we have a cross-sale report where we could see what dealers are selling every single month. And then one of my friends texted me, hey, Car Lots is public, should I buy their stock? And I'm like, Car Lots is public? What's their market cap? They were $1 billion company.
Wow.
I was selling almost 3 times as much cars as them. So if they were $1 billion, then my business was worth $3 billion per Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you should absolutely not buy their stock. Those guys sell like 15, 20 cars a month. They're not doing anything. They went out of business. They shut down. Their stock went to zero. But it goes to show you that that CEO of that company was somehow connected to, I saw that Goldman led their IPO, and it just goes to show you that whoever's connected, look at Vroom. Vroom just went out of business.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
They were public. They went out of business like last month. They were public. They shut down. There's a lot of money that gets thrown around at these businesses to try to scale them and grow them. And the hometown small businesses with more skill and more know-how, they don't really get that attention. So survival is very difficult when you do have billions thrown at other companies, because what do? They come in and they drive prices up at the auction, and we're stuck. Like, I can't buy cars, right? And I can't pay my people. So it gets very tough, but that is the one thing I will say about small business is they learn to adapt, and there's constant, like, that's my 30-day survival rule, right? Like, in 30 days, I could be out of business. So what do I need to do on day 1 through 30 to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, because I think the issues that a lot of small businesses in general face a lot of the time is either there's too much market share that the big corporations have. Like, if I'm opening up a coffee shop and there's a Starbucks across the street, because Starbucks has that name recognition. Maybe not now because people are boycotting, but in general, if people recognize the name Starbucks or they recognize McDonald's, I don't know why all the boycott brands are the ones I'm thinking of, but it's almost like, oh, because this is a brand I know, recognize, right, and I understand their service, it's harder for me to get behind a smaller company or brand. Whereas maybe something that's hits a little closer to home or a much more high value purchase, such as a car, you have a better understanding of your community than maybe a CarMax that has, hundreds of locations across the country.
That's right.
The person at the top of the business is not going to understand the business that's happening in Raleigh, North Carolina than you, because you're at a smaller scale, you have a better understanding of your community and their needs. And I think that's a very honorable approach that, hey, I'm tailored to my community, and RDU Auto, like, sure, we can ship across the states, and if they hear about the brand, great, but my needs are still focused on what are my community's needs.
That's right, yeah. So we do have that advantage, and I do see it as a competitive advantage because my core focus is what do I see people driving on the road on my commute to work, right? What do I see in social circles, whether it be at colleges or, local schools? What am I seeing, right? And I'm basically able to take my vision of what I see the roads, what I want the roads to look like, right? And it's like the stroke of a paintbrush, right? So I carry those cars. And I put them on a road, and it's like, just painting the portrait.
Well, Omar, my hope with this podcast is always to have something for people to take away from this. And there's a lot of stuff that we spoke on that people can take away. But when it comes to specifically for either buying or selling their car, or maybe even starting their business, what's kind of, the takeaway that, if you sum everything up, like, what's kind of the biggest takeaway that you would say? If I can only do one thing, this is what I need to do.
If you could only do one thing for buying a car, it's shopping it. Just making sure you're getting the best price from the best dealership. If you're selling your car, also get multiple offers. For entrepreneurs, the most difficult and toughest part about starting a business is the first step. The first step is the most difficult, and that's the one that's going to scare you. Don't be afraid of failure. People fail I still fail. I try things at work that fail all the time. It costs me a lot of money. Some of them are successful failures, some of them are straight up failures. Take the first step. Don't be afraid to fail. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, hey, there's a million other things for you to do. That would be my takeaway from that.
Well, thank you so much, Omar, for coming on.
Appreciate you for having me on, man.